Sisters and brothers, as we begin the 14th IUF Asia Pacific Regional Conference, we recall those who are no longer with us, and we express our sincere condolences to all those delegates who suffered the loss of union members, family, and friends in the COVID-19 pandemic. While many of us face tragic loss and tremendous hardship in the pandemic, we also share the view expressed by our members across the Asia Pacific region that they could not imagine facing this pandemic without their union. We are here today because of the union. That was, in fact, the theme of the 13th IUF Asia Pacific Regional Conference in 2016. Today, we convene this 14th IUF Asia Pacific Regional Conference in 2022 under the theme, Our Union, Our Power. In one sense, Our Union, Our Power is a celebration of the achievements of our union in defending the rights and interests of our members, in continuing the struggle for economic and social justice in an unjust, unfair, and unequal world. Everything we have won over the last 6 years is due to our union power in the workplace, in the community, across industries and sectors, nationally, regionally, and internationally. Clearly, our ability to combine together in collectively expressing this power is something we should be proud of. On the other hand, Our Union, Our Power is also a call for us to reflect on our union power, how we use it, how we increase it, and how we ensure we do not lose it. One of the lessons of the COVID-19 pandemic was that while we may have had the power to win improvements in the wages and working conditions and livelihoods and well-being of our members in the past, for most of us, we did not have the power to defend those wins. What we gained over the last 20 years, we lost in just 2 years. Without our unions, we certainly would have lost much more. Our members know this. But we also know as union leaders that we needed much more union power to effectively defend our members' rights and interests in the pandemic. Our ability to protect our past wins through collective bargaining, strikes, protests, policy interventions, and campaigns has been seriously eroded. In this regional conference, we will talk about the need to rebuild and reorganize for a post-pandemic recovery. This is not only about developing effective strategies and promoting policies that advance the interests of workers, but the need to rebuild our union power. If our union power was not enough in the pandemic and crisis, if we did not have the right kind of power to respond, then we must rethink what kind of union power we need to build. We are already on the brink of a global economic recession, with a growing risk of financial crisis and collapse in more countries in the region, and a deepening climate crisis. We will discuss this in this regional conference, the important actions we must take in the face of these multiple crises and the policies and activities that are urgently needed across all the IUF sectors. However, underlying the discussion of the decisions and the work we must undertake over the next 4 years is the need to reconsider our union power. Our union, our power. Not the power that we outsource to political parties or lawyers, not the power that we attain through recognition by governments or employers, not the power of alliances and public campaigns, not the power of projects and funding, but our real power, the power that comes from workers combining together as union members. It is no accident that throughout history, employers and governments have fought so aggressively, so viciously against the right to freedom of association. They continue to do so in many countries today. In fact, in all countries, the right of workers to freedom of association is always under attack in some form. So we must ask ourselves, why put so much sustained political effort, state resources, and the private financial resources of industries and companies and conservative political parties into suppressing the right to freedom of association? So what if a worker exercises her human right to join a union? Why does this require such a massive reallocation of state and private resources, and in several countries, military and police intervention? What are governments and employers so afraid of? It is because governments and employers understand, even if we have forgotten, that workers exercising their right to freedom of association is the source of our union power. Freedom of association is not just the individual human right of workers to join a union, it is the collective right of workers to combine together to be a union. The word combination is the original term used in the discussion and debate of the ILO Convention on Freedom of Association more than 75 years ago. Workers associating in a union is based on the concept of workers combining not just forming an organization, an association. Workers' combination, coming together in an organization for the purpose of defending and advancing workers' interests, is in fact defined in the ILO Convention number 87 as the purpose of a workers' organization. Freedom of association means that workers have the right to combine together. But what they combine is not just their common demands, ideas, and aspirations, but the power to achieve it. While workers have no power as individuals, each and every worker that joins the union brings more power. This is the source of our union power. The source of our power is not our electoral capacity, our ability to vote for Labour and social democratic parties. Our power is not how loud we can be in protest marches and rallies. Our power is not whether we are heard by government ministers or policymakers. Our power is the very fact that workers have come together, have combined to be our members. This creates power. The union, by bringing workers together collectively, generates power. The union is not a conductor that conducts power between workers and political parties, or workers and governments, or workers and employers. The union itself generates power. If we do not realize this, then we will continue to suffer the worst effects of the climate crisis, pandemics, global recessions, and financial crises, because the only way to prevent catastrophic climate collapse, the only way to prevent the next pandemic, the only way to prevent these recessions and financial crises is for unions to use their power for change. We must change the unjust, unfair, unequal system in which we work and live. We must change the system that is killing the planet. And we can only do that if we recognize that our power only comes from our members. A good union, a strong union, is not a union that makes the biggest noise or has the biggest social media profile, the most retweets, likes on Facebook, or popularity on Instagram. A strong union is not a union invited to endless overseas conferences and that is popular with funders. A strong union is a union where members know they are members of the union. They know why they are members of the union, and they use their membership to improve their lives, fighting for fairness and decency and ensuring others are treated fairly and decently. Union members' awareness needs more than speeches. It requires structured trade union education and training programs and effective communication. That is why education and training is a priority for the regional organization over the next 4 years. But it is not just education and training. It is education and training for the power to change. For members' education and training to translate into the power to change, the union as an organization must be independent and democratic. The elected leadership must be accountable, and the organization must be free from corruption, free from coercion, and free from collusion with governments or employers. That is why the IUF rules state that IUF membership is based on independent and democratic trade union organizations. It is not simply because the IUF is strict about the criteria for membership or upholds high moral principles. It is pragmatic, because if a union is not independent and not democratic, it cannot have real power. A union that is not independent and not democratic can only borrow power from governments, from employers, from political parties, or from religious organizations. And when you borrow, you owe. It is a debt that must be repaid at great cost to working people. Integral to the theme, Our Union, Our Power, is Women Unions of Power, which the 14th IUF Asia-Pacific Regional Conference will adopt under decision number 6. Again, this is not a matter of high morals, ethics, good policies, political correctness, or reputation. It's simply pragmatic. I do not believe that any union can have any kind of real power without women being organized as members and active in the union, without women in leadership, actively involved in decision-making in every aspect of union activities. It is incorrect to simplify this by saying that women are half the world and therefore represent half the union's power. In the very nature of trade unions and what we're fighting for economic and social justice, the absence of women in our unions, the absence of women in our leadership, the absence of women actively participating in decision-making means we will have no power at all. Patriarchy is not an attitude, it's an arrangement of power, a regime designed to oppress and exploit women. It intentionally restricts the collective power of working people and undermines the power of our organizations. It is not cultural, it is political. Our commitment to gender equality and freedom from all forms of discrimination is both an expression of our collective values and our political response to patriarchy. Just as our call for freedom from all forms of discrimination and our commitment to organize migrant workers and include migrant workers in the leadership of our unions is our political response to racism, which is also an arrangement of political power, a regime. Before we debate how impossible this is and make excuses regarding culture, we should recall how impossible it was to free ourselves from colonialism, to end slavery, to defeat fascism, and to rebuild in the aftermath of devastating wars. All impossible. In the history of working class struggle, in the history of our labor movement, impossible meant extremely difficult, but necessary. Let's get it done. Sisters and brothers, let's get it done. Let's rethink, rebuild, and revitalize our union power. Let's put the task of growing our union power at the center of everything we now do. Because the only hope we have in this climate crisis, the global economic crisis, and the next pandemic is our union, our power. Thank you.